My left leg was amputated. When the accident happened, I pushed Liam Shin out of harm's way. He was unscathed, but my left leg got caught in the wheel. Out of gratitude, he married me while I was confined to a wheelchair. For over a decade of marriage, we accompanied each other and moved forward hand in hand. Though life had its occasional ups and downs, I considered it relatively stable and happy. It wasn't until I died from respiratory failure caused by chronic myelitis that he sat by my grave. Murmuring, he said, "You lost a leg saving me, and I was trapped, forced to stay by your side for over a decade. Now that you're gone, I'm finally free. In this lifetime, we're even. If there's a next life, may we be worlds apart, never to meet again." After saying this, he lit our marriage certificate in front of the grave. 3 months later, he remarried with great fanfare, hosting a lavish banquet for guests from all around. I knew the bride. It was Stella Lynn, his former first love. After exchanging rings, he held her tightly in his arms. His voice choked with emotion. "All these years, I've let you and our daughter suffer. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of the accident, given a second chance at life. This time, I choose to honor his wishes." The glaring summer sunlight made my eyes ache. The heat, rising from the ground, crept up my calves in faint wisps. Feeling so real it made my heart tremble. I instinctively lowered my head. When my gaze fell upon the unharmed left leg beneath my skirt, my emotions spiraled out of control in an instant. It had truly been so long, so very long, since I last felt this grounded. Beside me, the man who had been quickly replying to messages on his phone looked up at me in surprise. Seeing my tear-streaked face, he froze, then asked nervously, "What's wrong? Why are you suddenly crying out of nowhere?" I slowly raised my tear-filled eyes. My gaze pierced through the blurry veil of tears, settling on the man before me. Liam Shun at 22 was truly handsome. He radiated vibrant energy, his brows relaxed and his eyes clear and bright, not yet shadowed by the weariness and gloom that would later consume them. I had nearly forgotten. So, this was how spirited he looked before we married. Liam Shin noticed my scrutiny, his handsome brows slightly furrowed. That fleeting, almost imperceptible change made my heart clench tightly. In my past life, whenever he thought I was being unreasonable, he would always look down at me coldly with that exact expression. I felt both despair and self-blame. He raised his hand to wipe the tears from my face and sighed, saying, "Are you still angry about me getting into a fight and ending up in detention? I've explained it to you so many times. That bastard tried to harass Mushua, and I just lost my temper and hit him with a bottle. In that situation, who wouldn't?" I stepped back, avoiding his touch, and calmly interrupted him. "You don't need to explain it to me. This matter has nothing to do with me anyway. Who you want to save is your own choice." Liam Shun's expression went blank for a moment. The rest of his words stuck in his throat. After a long pause, his voice tense, he asked with a frown, "What do you mean by that?" I glanced down at my intact left leg once more and replied calmly, "Exactly what I said. By the way, the compensation I just paid for you, plus the medical expenses for the injured I covered earlier, totals 57,170 yuan. That was money I saved from part-time jobs to repay my student loan, so please return it to me as soon as possible." In my previous life, when I heard that Liam Shun had been detained for fighting, I thought I must have misheard. He was always the gentle and polite student union officer, the model student praised by all the teachers. He had never even raised his voice at anyone. How could he end up brawling with street thugs, even getting dragged to the police station? Later, I paid his compensation, completed the paperwork, and brought him out. But when I got a clear look at the man before me, I froze in shock. He was a mess, bruised and swollen cheeks, his right sleeve torn off, and scabbed wounds on both hands. This version of him was utterly unrecognizable from the Liam Shun I had known for 3 years in college. When he saw me, he frantically tried to explain. Mushua and her friend were at a bar when a drunk thug harassed them. The man, acting wild from alcohol, pinned her on the sofa, attempting to assault her. Leo Lee and I happened to run into the scene. We couldn't just stand by and do nothing, though I found it odd why he'd suddenly go to a bar with friends. But he's always been sincere and warm-hearted, so I didn't doubt his explanation much. Though we're a couple, we usually maintain our own space and freedom. In that kind of situation, even if she weren't a classmate, stepping in to save a girl from assault is the right thing to do. Besides, I know Stella Lynn too. She was a high school classmate of Liam Shun and Leo Lee. Now she attends the same university as us, majoring in music performance at the School of Arts. Though I haven't interacted with her much, in my impression, she's beautiful and graceful. I quite like her. However, Liam Shun's method of rescue, smashing a bottle directly on the thug's head, was a bit too extreme. Fortunately, the case was eventually resolved through mediation. Otherwise, Liam Shun could have really ended up in jail. The only thing that struck me as odd was how the police, when handling the case, never mentioned the key detail of the thugs attempting to sexually assault Stella Lynn, instead classifying the incident as a simple brawl. It wasn't until many years later that I accidentally learned the truth about what happened that day from Liam Shun's circle of friends. That was 2 months before I died. Leo Lee, Liam Shun's closest friend, and also our university classmate, held a housewarming party after moving into his new villa. Naturally, Liam brought me along. By then, my condition had already deteriorated significantly. The nerve pain caused by chronic myelitis tormented me day and night. Coupled with my post-traumatic stress disorder, my mental state was constantly on high alert. I was easily agitated and didn't get along well with those around me. So while everyone chatted warmly, feeling out of place, I slipped away to the villa's back garden alone. The moonlight was cool, like a thin layer of frost dusting the blooming tulips. I sat quietly on the rattan chair beside the flowering tree, my fingers unconsciously stroking the prosthetic leg on my left limb, just as I was spacing out, counting the sparse, bright stars above. A window on the first floor of the villa suddenly swung open. Warm yellow light spilled out from inside. The laughter and chatter of several men, mingled with the click of a lighter, soon reached my ears. Liam, how do you put up with Nina Sue's aloof personality? Does she even know how to smile? Her face was icy all evening, as if we'd somehow offended her. I remember she wasn't like this back in college. That was the voice of Leo Lee, the host of today's housewarming party. Liam Shun murmured something in a low voice, likely apologizing on my behalf. Another male voice cut in. Come on, there are plenty of disabled people in the world, but I've never met anyone as self-centered as her. No offense, buddy, but you're really stuck for life. Nina Sue looks at least 20 years older than you. I was genuinely startled by her appearance just now. Is it worth giving up Stella Lynn for a woman like this? Someone else chimed in. Yeah, if you ask me, Brother Shin must have lost his mind. He and Stella Lynn were our high school's acknowledged golden couple. Even the dean turned a blind eye. Yet now he's abandoning a stellar woman like Stella for a disabled, incomplete wreck like Nina Sue. It's just foolish. The night breeze carried a hint of cigarette smoke, rushing into my nostrils. From the shadows, I gazed at the man standing by the window. The cigarette in his hand glowed and dimmed, but he never uttered a word. Leo Lee flicked the ash from his cigarette and suddenly sighed, saying, You all should keep your comments to yourselves. Don't forget, it was Stella Lynn who betrayed Lin Chuan first. After she started university, she got together with that senior who drove a luxury car. Otherwise, Lin Chuan wouldn't have sought Nina Sue, who bore 60 to 70% resemblance to Stella Lynn, as a substitute, only to end up stuck with her for life. He took a deep drag from a cigarette before stubbing it out in the ashtray. Besides, if it weren't for you all meddling and egging Stella on to reconcile with Lin Chuan after their breakup, she wouldn't have gone to that bar, deliberately mingling with that troublemaker and sending photos to Lin Chuan after being rejected. And what happened? Lin Chuan smashed a bottle over the thug's head in a rage and landed in jail. In the end, it was all thanks to Nina Sue running around tirelessly, not only calling in a lawyer friend to help mediate, but also paying Lin Chuan's compensation up front. Otherwise, he'd definitely be behind bars. Leo Lee finished speaking. The group fell silent for a moment. Finally, someone muttered, Hey, Why dredge up the past, even if she had sky-high favors? Hasn't brother Shun repaid it all by marrying her? Trapped in the darkness, my throat felt suddenly strangled. An inner collapse surged over me like a tidal wave. So that's how it was? From their fragmented conversation, I finally pieced together the complete truth. Stella Lynn and Liam Shun were each other's first love. He was outstanding. She was beautiful. Everyone said they were like the main couple straight out of a youth novel. But after entering university, Stella met a senior who drove a Ferrari. On the day they broke up, Liam was utterly devastated and drank himself into a stupor. He waited outside Stella's dorm for 3 days, but never got so much as an explanation from her. Yet, less than a year later, Stella's relationship with the senior ended in a breakup. After that, Stella started frequently contacting Liam, wanting to get back together with him. By then, Liam and I had already officially started dating, but she had no intention of giving up. She would buy breakfast at the cafeteria every day and wait outside the boys' dormitory. She would slip love letters she'd written into beautifully scented envelopes and ask Leo Lee to tuck them into Liam's backpack. She persisted for a year, yet the man never looked back. Until her birthday arrived. She booked a hotel room specially, wearing the new lingerie she'd bought. Her birthday gift to herself. A final tribute to her fading youth. She said, just this once. And then she would never disturb him again. But Liam Shun never showed up. Drunk, Stella Lynn video called Liam from the bar. On screen, a stranger's hand was already slipping into her low-cut neckline. When Liam rushed to the bar, he saw her pinned in a booth, her dress disheveled. Blind rage seized Liam. He yanked Stella away from the man, then grappled with him. Outmatched and desperate, he grabbed a bottle from the table and smashed it hard against the man's head. What happened after, I already know. That one blow nearly cost Liam his promising future. The other party refused to settle, insisting Liam serve time. Upon learning this, I immediately contacted a lawyer I had met during my part-time translation work, asking him to help handle the matter. I also visited the man in the hospital multiple times, humbly pleading with him to settle the case amicably. After a week of difficult negotiations, the other party finally relented, demanding 50,000 yuan in compensation, plus coverage of all his medical expenses, agreeing to resolve the case through settlement. Liam Shun didn't want his parents to know about the trouble he'd gotten into at school, so I covered the over 50,000 yuan myself. Money from my scholarship and what I'd earned from translation gigs over my college years. And the car accident that led to my amputation happened on my way back to school from the detention center. At the time, after receiving a phone call, Liam Shun suddenly said he needed to go to the supermarket across the street to buy something and told me to head back to school first. Just as he was crossing the road, a black car lost control and sped toward him. I didn't have time to think. My body reacted before my brain could, and I rushed over and pushed him out of the way with all my strength. But my left leg was caught under the wheels. The leg injury was so severe that a large area of tissue had necrotized. To save my life, the left leg had to be amputated. After leaving the operating room, Liam Shun held my hand tightly, his eyes red and swollen. He knelt by my hospital bed, promising to take care of me for the rest of his life. Later, I took a leave of absence from school and gave up on graduate entrance exams. Every day, I lay stiffly in the shabby rental apartment Liam Shun had found for me. My only outdoor activity was when Liam took me to the hospital for rehabilitation training. A year later, Liam Shun graduated from university. Instead of job hunting like other graduates, he discussed starting a media company with a few friends. He took the remaining 800,000 yuan from my accident compensation fund as the company's startup capital. My rehabilitation treatment was forced to halt. Years later, my attending physician told me that if I had been able to complete all the rehabilitation sessions back then, it might not have developed into chronic myelitis. Time passed. Liam Shun took me home to meet his parents. When his parents learned their son was marrying a woman missing a leg, their faces instantly darkened like iron. They couldn't even bother to maintain superficial politeness. Right in front of relatives and friends, they pointed at my nose and cursed me out. They called me shameless, called me a cripple, called me a burden who would only drag their son down. But no matter how they cursed, I remained unmoved. What else could I do? I lost a leg saving Liam Shun. Because of the amputation, I developed severe post-traumatic stress disorder. At night, I always struggle painfully between fear and despair. Given my current condition, Liam Shun is already my best option. What right do they have to make me give up? I won't. I'd rather die than give up. Unfortunately, my recovery after the amputation didn't go well. Chronic myelitis has ravaged me beyond recognition. Not even 40 years old. My hair has almost turned completely white, and my face has aged terribly. Liam Shun hired 2 nannies to take care of me and transferred 200,000 yuan monthly into my account for personal expenses. He rarely came home himself, and on the rare occasions he returned early, he would stay in his study until late at night before emerging. He was always busy, always on business trips. On the night of Leo Lee's housewarming party, I suffered a trauma-induced stress episode, my body trembling and breathing labored, and was rushed to the hospital. I demanded an explanation from Liam Shun, but he kept avoiding me, refusing to show his face. 2 months later, I died in the hospital from respiratory failure triggered by osteomyelitis. Until the very end, Liam Shun never appeared again. After death, my soul lingered, unable to move on. I watched as the nurse covered me with a white sheet, saw the sky outside the window gradually brighten, and observed Liam Shun arriving belatedly, standing before my remains with an expression of what seemed like relieved liberation. After handling the funeral arrangements, he sat before my freshly built grave and lit a cigarette. He said, "Jiang Yuning, you lost your left leg, saving me, and I was forced to remain by your side for over a decade as my prison. Now that you're dead, I am finally free. In this life, we are even. If there is a next life, may mountains and rivers keep us apart, never to meet again." After saying this, he lit our marriage certificate in front of the grave. I followed Liam Shun to the front of a luxurious villa. A woman in a silk nightgown ran out barefoot from inside the villa. She threw herself into the man's embrace. It was Stella Lynn, wrapping her arms around his waist. She comforted him softly. "Husband, don't be too sad. That woman is gone now. From now on, the 3 of us can live happily together." The man nodded silently. That evening, I saw their daughter, who was already in her 3rd year of junior high. But Liam and I had only been married for 15 years. So, the marriage I once believed to be stable had long been completely rotten to the core. I don't know if it was the memories that made the hatred surging in my eyes too obvious. Liam Shun softened his tone, his voice gentle to the point of being ingratiating. "All right, don't be angry. I'll transfer the money to you as soon as I gather it. For now, let me take you to that dessert place you love the most. Okay?" I disgustedly shook off his hand as he reached for mine. Liam Shun looked taken aback, his right hand awkwardly suspended mid-air. Just then, his phone rang abruptly. After glancing at the caller ID, he flusteredly shot me a look and said unnaturally, "Yuning, wait a moment. I need to take this call." Then, covering the receiver, he walked a few steps away. "Hello, Mushua." His hushed voice drifted over with the wind. "Don't worry, I've handled the situation. I'm out of the detention center now." Something was said on the other end. I watched as the tips of his ears faintly flushed red. He asked quietly, "What brand of tampons do you use?" Okay, if your stomach hurts, just stay in your dorm. I'll buy tampons and painkillers and bring them to you later." By the time he ended the call and turned around, a trace of lingering tenderness still remained on his face. He said to me with some embarrassment, "Yuning, something urgent just came up. How about you head back to school first, and I'll buy some desserts and meet you downstairs at your dorm later?" I glanced at the constant stream of messages popping up on Liam Shun's phone and replied flatly, "No need. I have plans tonight. Go handle your business." The man breathed an almost imperceptible sigh of relief and nodded. "All right then, I'll get going. Be careful on your way back. In the slanting sunlight, I watched as he hurried eagerly across the street. My mind flashed back to the terror and despair I felt in my past life when my left leg was trapped under a car. The words suddenly burst from my lips. Liam Shun. He turned back, smiling at me. What is it, Yuning? Something else? I looked at this man who had stayed by my side for nearly 20 years in my previous life. The man who once knelt by my hospital bed, vowing to cherish and love me for a lifetime. The evening glow cast a hazy, blood-like hue over him. Just then, the traffic light behind him turned green. Watch your step crossing the road. Don't get yourself killed by a car, I said. Liam Shun paused for a moment, then flashed me a grin. Don't worry, your boyfriend's got 9 lives. I fell silent, watching him before turning to walk toward the school. A dozen seconds later, a screech of brakes pierced the air behind me, followed by a sickening thud, the sound of something heavy hitting the ground. Someone screamed in terror. Someone's been hit. Call the police. I clenched the strap of my canvas bag, nails digging deep into my palm. A surging crowd rushed toward the intersection where the accident had occurred. My stomach twisted in a violent, nauseating spasm. I could no longer hold back, bending over as dry heaves racked my body. In a daze, I returned to the dorm, only to meet a pair of hesitant eyes. Yuning, my roommate began, her words trailing off uncertainly. As if all strength had left me, I tossed my canvas bag and phone onto the desk. Then I grabbed a nearby water glass and gulped down several frantic mouthfuls. The cool liquid slid down my throat, easing some of the burning heat churning in my chest. What's wrong, Yo-Yo? I asked. My roommate hesitantly pushed her phone toward me. This post was uploaded just 5 minutes ago. Could the injured person be Liam Shin from our class? I glanced at the phone screen. The campus forum headline read, Liam Shun from the School of Finance involved in serious car accident near Culture Plaza. Though the photo was blurred, the smeared dark red bloodstain remained horrifyingly vivid. I stared at the content, silent for a long time. Right then, the phone suddenly vibrated on the table. It was an unfamiliar landline number. I absentmindedly tapped the speakerphone button. A woman's urgent voice came through. Hello, is this Nina Sue? This is the emergency department at Second City Hospital. Liam Shun has been in a car accident with severe injuries. Please come to the ER immediately or notify his family. I frowned. Shouldn't the hospital notify the school or his family directly? Why call me? I replied. Sorry, Liam Shun and I are just classmates. I suggest you contact his family directly. The caller paused in surprise. You're the only emergency contact in his phone. Could you please help reach his family? I don't have their contacts. I have other matters to attend to, so I'll hang up now. With that, I promptly ended the call. I looked up to 3 stunned faces, their mouths slightly agape, as if seeing me for the first time. But I didn't want to explain anything then. Just dragged my heavy feet into the bathroom. These past couple days, classmates often huddled together chatting, but their conversations would abruptly stop when I approached. No need to guess. They were definitely gossiping about me behind my back. I didn't care. I attended classes as usual, ate alone, and studied in the library when I had no lessons. Finally, before morning class on the 4th day, Liam Shun's roommate, stopped me in the hallway. His face showed anger. Nina Sue, do you even have a heart? Liam is lying in the hospital with a comminuted fracture in his right leg. The doctor says he'll likely be disabled. It's just a lame leg. In my past life, I lost my entire left leg. My expression remained indifferent as I calmly retorted. So what? Leo's face twisted slightly, and he snapped angrily. Almost our entire class has visited him. Even Henry Zoe from the student council, who had issues with him, went. But you're his girlfriend. Yet you haven't even called him. Is your heart made of stone? I rolled my eyes lightly and said, maybe Henry went to the hospital to laugh at him? Leo choked on his anger. For a moment, he couldn't find words to retort. I looked straight into his eyes and reminded him, if Liam is injured, maybe you should be notifying Stella Lynn, not me. Leo's expression froze. The atmosphere grew tense for a moment. Just then, the class bell rang in the distance. I brushed past his arm and walked into the classroom through the back door without looking back. Lee's voice, thick with suppressed anger, came from behind. Nina Sue, you are truly the coldest person I have ever met. I curled the corner of my lips into a mocking, icy smile. Cold? Compared to you wolves in sheep's clothing. Hypocritical trash. What I've done is hardly worth mentioning. But in the end, I still went to the hospital to see Liam Shen. As soon as I pushed open the ward door, a strange odor assaulted my senses. Liam Shen's right leg was wrapped in thick gauze, stained with dried yellow medication and seeping dark brown blood marks. It looked utterly repulsive. I heard his injury was severe. They had to clean and disinfect the wound first, and only operate after the inflammation was under control. I glanced at the man reclining against the headboard. In just a week, he had grown gaunt, his pale cheeks sunken deeply, just like me at this time in my previous life. He looked terribly weak, yet the moment he saw me, a faint light flickered in his eyes. Nina, you came. The man's voice was hoarse, yet brimming with delight. He sat up eagerly, his movements animated. Perhaps he accidentally tugged at his wound, for he frowned and let out a pained groan, his expression contorted. Yet, in the very next moment, when his gaze inadvertently fell upon my uninjured left leg, the joy in his eyes abruptly wavered and trembled. Liam Shen fell silent, but his stare remained fixed intently on my left leg. I quietly walked over and sat on the stool beside his hospital bed, placing the canvas bag on my lap. Nina Sue, why didn't you save me that day? Or, you could have stopped me. I know you could have. His voice was soft but trembled with barely restrained emotion. My heart clenched, and a bitter ache instantly spread through every part of my body. Has Liam Shen also returned? I stared at him coldly, but offered no answer to his question, unsettled by my gaze. He curled his lips into a mocking sneer. After all these days since my car accident, it's rare for Miss Nina Sue to finally remember to visit me. Because next month after exams, summer break starts, I said. Liam Shen seemed puzzled by my words, frowning and looking at me in confusion. This summer, I don't plan to work part-time anymore. I've made plans with friends to travel abroad, so I need you to return the 170 yuan to me now. Liam Shen's eyes widened in disbelief, gradually turning bloodshot. His voice carried a broken edge. You came to the hospital just to ask me for money? Nina Sue, do you even have a heart? Did you ever truly love me? Liam Shen's questions left me speechless with bitter amusement. He actually asked if I ever truly loved him. Then, how did I lose my legs in my past life? Because I didn't want them anymore? Suddenly, the scene flashed in my mind where Lee said he saw me as Stella Lin's substitute. And after my death, when he sat by my grave and finished saying those words, a scumbag like him isn't worthy of my love anymore. I scoffed. Liam Shen, in your eyes, am I just a fool you can easily deceive? He froze for a moment. Then, he replied angrily, when have I ever deceived you? In our past life, I worked tirelessly and took care of you, disabled, for 17 whole years. What more do you want? I sneered. Took care of me? You did look after me during those 2 years before marriage, but most of the time, I was alone at home, hopping around on crutches, taking care of myself on one leg. Later, after we married and you had money, you were so moved just by hiring a maid. Liam Shen, be honest. How many times did you truly take care of me? Liam Shen's face flushed red. Don't I have to work? Don't I need to earn money? All my social engagements and business trips were for you. For our family. Do you think the 200,000 I gave you every month just fell from the sky? Social engagements, business trips? I repeated his words mockingly. Was your business entertainment at Bayside Villa with Stella Lin? Or was your business trip attending your 9th grade daughter's parent-teacher conference? At the mention of Stella Lin and his daughter, Liam Shen's expression shifted drastically, the color draining from his face. After a brief silence, he suddenly let out an eerie laugh. He said, Nina Sue, do you know how I feel every time we sleep together and I see the stump of your left leg? It makes me want to vomit. Truly, a physical revulsion, nausea. Every time I share a bed with you, I have to take medication beforehand and suppress my disgust with all my might just to face you. If the deception you're talking about refers to this, then yes, I deceived you. Every word he spoke was like a venom-coated dagger, stabbing straight into my heart and twisting relentlessly. I struggled to maintain my composure, but my teeth chattered uncontrollably. Tears threatened to burst forth like a broken dam. But no, I refused to break down in front of such trash. I stood up, raised my right hand, and with all my strength, slapped him hard across the face. Liam Shen, you're a fucking bastard. Screw you. Why didn't that car just finish you off that day? The man's face jerked sideways from my slap. He pressed his tongue against his bleeding lip, his Adam's apple bobbing repeatedly. I took a deep breath, struggling to suppress the tremor in my voice. Today, I don't want to hear how much you once despised me, and I won't bring up saving your life in the past, since it's all from a previous lifetime. Neither of us needs to mention it again. I'm here for two things. We're breaking up, and I want you to pay back the money. Now, from today onward, we're done, completely and forever. I stood by the hospital bed, arms crossed. I watched coldly as Liam Shen, face dark, called relatives and friends one by one to borrow money. When Alipay notified me that 170 yuan had been transferred, I blocked all his contact methods right in front of him. Just as I turned to leave, Liam Shen's voice came coldly from behind me. Nina Sue, I'd like to see how well you'll fare in this life without me, relying solely on your scheming father and calculating stepmother. When you regret it and come crawling back to me, don't expect me to take you in. My footsteps faltered slightly. The repulsive faces of that wretched couple involuntarily surfaced in my mind. That woman was my mother's cousin. After my mom was diagnosed with late-stage cervical cancer, she came to take care of her for a while, ended up taking care of my father in his bed. After my mother passed, I became a thorn in her side. Her heart and eyes were only for her own daughter from a previous marriage, and she racked her brains trying to drive me out of the house before I turned 14. My father turned a blind eye, even pressuring me under her influence to drop out of school and work for money. I naturally refused. Fortunately, my high school entrance exam scores were outstanding, and the high school waived my tuition. Later, through hard work, I earned scholarships and sold the gold bracelet my mother left me to barely scrape through 3 years of high school. Liam Shen knew perfectly, well, how terrible my family of origin was. He also knew how much I hated that wretched couple. Yet now, he deliberately used them to provoke me. Rage exploded in my head like a buzzing swarm. I spun around, strode to his hospital bed, raised my hand, and slapped him across the face again, then spat right on him. Disgusting. Want me to come back? It's noon right now. What kind of damn pipe dream are you having? You're no better than those two beasts. All filthy scum from the same rotten den. Liam Shen's face twisted instantly, veins bulging on his forehead. He lunged at me from the hospital bed, but with his right leg injured, he crashed heavily to the floor. Sue, you, Ning. He snarled my name through gritted teeth, as if he wanted to tear me apart limb by limb. I looked down at him coldly with utter contempt, then slammed the door shut and left. I had already cut off all ties with Liam Shen, but news about him inevitably reached my ears through other classmates. I heard his post-surgery infection was severe, leading to sepsis, and he stayed in the ICU for over a month. His parents came to school to handle his leave of absence procedures. To encourage him, Stella Lynn wore a pure white veil and took a photo kissing Liam Shen in his hospital bed. Someone even posted about their relationship on the campus forum. Classmates admired Stella's unwavering love for him, calling it true love, but I had no time to pay attention to their affairs. I was busy preparing for the advanced interpretation exam, studying for grad school entrance tests, and enjoying the freedom of running with my healthy legs. Immersed in BBC News and TED Talks daily, I even practiced simultaneous interpreting in my dreams. The name, Liam Shen, had long been blurred by the tide of studying. I didn't see Liam Shen again until the winter of my senior year. Just before New Year's Day, just a few days after the preliminary graduate entrance exams ended. My long, tense nerves finally got a brief chance to relax. That day, I sat by the artificial lake, holding a cup of hot cocoa, watching the captive, bread red, billed gulls frolic and circle over the water. Suddenly, a heated argument erupted not far away. Liam Shen, why aren't you staying put in the rental? What madness brings you to campus? Look at yourself. Hardly human, more like a ghost. You've scared off all my friends. The woman's voice was laced with anger and disgust. I turned toward the noise. Behind the bare kapok trees, I spotted two familiar figures. In the bitter winter cold, Liam wore only a wrinkled plaid shirt. He was painfully thin, and, with his hunched posture leaning on a cane, he cut a pitiful figure. Liam's eyes were bloodshot as he sneered and demanded, "Friends? You call that friends? You were all over each other, practically devouring one another. How the hell is that just friends?" Stella Lynn, I only took a leave of absence for a while, and you couldn't wait to cheat behind my back? No wonder you haven't been answering my calls or replying to my messages lately. If I hadn't sneaked over today, I wouldn't have known you were cheating. Stella Lynn looked thoroughly annoyed. My life is none of your business. If I don't date someone else, am I supposed to actually marry you? If I'd known you'd end up with a grade 7 disability, I never would have been with you in the first place. If I dared bring you home, my parents would break my legs. You looked down on me. Liam Shun's entire body trembled violently. He lost control and shouted hoarsely, "Don't forget who I became like this for. If it weren't for buying things for you, how could I have been hit by a car? Then go call the police." Stella Lynn's voice was icy. "Go ahead. Have the guts to let the police arrest me. It was your own fault for not watching where you were crossing. That driver hit you, and they really had the worst luck in the world. I'm warning you. Stay away from me from now on, and don't come looking for me again. You and I have nothing to do with each other." After saying this, Stella Lynn turned and left directly. Liam Shun's body seemed to lose all support. His crutch fell, and he lost his balance, collapsing to the ground on his right side. A mocking smile played on my lips as I watched the entire spectacle unfold. Liam Shun struggled painfully to pick himself up from the ground. Just as he lifted his head, his gaze collided directly with mine. He shuddered as if struck by lightning, freezing completely in the biting cold wind. Monday's 8 a.m. class, with headphones on and music playing. I hurried into the classroom carrying a steamy basket of soup dumplings and a cup of soy milk. As soon as I found an empty seat and settled in, Sarah Schwa, who I'm on good terms with, slid into the spot next to me. She nudged my elbow mysteriously. Puzzled, I took off my headphones. Sarah leaned in and lowered her voice. "Ning, have you heard? Liam Shun's girlfriend from the School of Arts hooked up with some underclassmen from the School of Physical Education." Her gossipy expression was barely containable, her tone tinged with excitement. "That girl went to a hotel with the underclassmen yesterday, but Liam Shun caught them. He got into a fight with the guy, but how could he win against an athlete with his leg injured? Sure enough, he ended up in the hospital again last night." My hands paused while unwrapping the breakfast bag. Sarah Schwa continued. "The police were called yesterday. Both the athlete and that girl were taken away. It's absolutely insane." So, she suddenly grabbed my wrist, blinking her big eyes as she asked, "Don't you feel a sense of satisfaction hearing that?" I smiled and nodded. "Yeah, really satisfying. They deserved it." The girl burst out laughing. "That's more like it. Since you broke up with Liam Shun, I've hardly seen you smile. It's easier to find a three-legged toad than a decent man, but there are plenty of fish in the sea." I looked at her gratefully. Among all my classmates, she was the only one who consistently showed me kindness. In the eyes of the others, I was the ultimate opportunist, the one who dumped Liam Shun right after his accident. They thought someone like me wasn't worth befriending. Sarah Schwa nudged my shoulder again, her eyes crinkling. "I heard you pass the advanced English interpreting oral exam on your first try. So impressive." I laughed. "Well, maybe I just got a bit lucky. Then, let me treat you to dinner tonight. You can pick any restaurant." "Sounds great." The past 6 months flew by in a blink. Before I knew it, The first semester of senior year was almost over. Many classmates had already left campus one after another after finishing their exams. After our major's last financial engineering exam, my roommates were all packing up to go home. Sarah had a lot of luggage. She called and asked me to help carry it to a taxi waiting outside the campus. After seeing Sarah off and returning to the dorm, I realized the other three had already left. Standing alone in the empty dorm room, I suddenly felt an indescribable sadness. I still remember that September when I first stepped into university, greeting them all a bit awkwardly. Now, graduation was coming so fast. Next semester, except for a few preparing for grad school exams on campus, everyone would go their separate ways and start internships. The next time we meet will probably be during the thesis defense. I washed my face and stood in front of the mirror for a long time. My heart ached with a deep sense of loss. I grabbed my canvas bag and headed downstairs, planning to buy some milk and dry goods from the supermarket. In 2 more days, the supermarket will be closed too. Just as I stepped out of the dormitory building, I spotted a familiar figure standing not far away. I glanced at Liam Shun, leaning on his crutches by the pathway, and tried to slip past him unnoticed. When he saw me, his eyes lit up with surprise, and he quickly hobbled over on his crutches to block my path. "Yuning, you're here. I have something to tell you." I wanted nothing to do with him and replied coldly, "Get lost. You're blocking my fresh air." His eyes reddened slightly as he stared straight at me, his gaze overflowing with deep affection. "Yuning, please don't be like this. I waited here just for you. Don't you have nowhere to go for winter break? I rented the apartment we lived in during our past life. I'll help you move your things, and we can spend the new year together." I irritably rubbed my temples. Does he really think I'd miss that rental apartment that felt like a prison to me? "Liam Shen, when will you ever stop? Wasn't it you who said that if there's another life, we'd part ways forever, never to meet again? Who are you putting on this lovesick act for now?" With that, I tried to step past him and leave, but Liam Shen grabbed my arm firmly. "I'm sorry. I was a bastard. I was blind and foolish. I take back everything I said." He raised his hand and slapped himself twice across the face. "Ning, I regret it. Let's get back together. I swear to you, I'll treat you right for the rest of my life." I'm so done, it's like done just opened the door for done. Absolutely speechless. I harshly shook off his hand. "Get your filthy hands off me. What right do you have to even touch me?" Liam Shun's face turned pale, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Ning, how can you be so heartless? After all, we were husband and wife for over a decade. I refuse to believe you feel nothing for me." He actually had the nerve to accuse me of being heartless. In my past life, when he treated me like that, he never once considered whether he was being cruel. Seeing him stubbornly blocking my path, refusing to leave, I lifted my foot and aimed a fierce kick at his uninjured left leg. He cried out in pain. His other lame leg couldn't bear any weight at all. Staggering a few steps, he fell heavily to the ground. I shrugged innocently. "I already told you to get lost, but you insisted on clinging to me. I suspect you're trying to illegally restrict my freedom. This is just self-defense." Liam Shen lay on the ground, looking at me with a sorrowful yet affectionate expression. "Ning, I don't blame you. If this makes you feel better, I'm willing to endure it. You can kick me as many times as you want, as long as you can forgive me." Seeing his pathetically eager expression, I worried I might actually be giving him pleasure, with no one blocking my way anymore. I naturally had no time to waste bickering with him. Lifting my foot, I stepped directly over him. In late February, the preliminary exam results for graduate school were released. The score was quite good, over 20 points higher than my last mock exam. It was a performance beyond my usual level, considering both caution and my own capabilities. I didn't aim for top-tier universities, but applied for a popular major at a second-tier institution. The focus was on smart finance. Then came the tense preparation for the second-round exams. I didn't hear news about Liam Shin again until half a year into my graduate studies. After that time, I kicked him. He harassed me for a while longer, but each time, I either beat him up or called security or the police. Gradually, He stopped appearing in front of me. That day, I had just stepped out of the finance lab. I received a WeChat voice message from Sarah Shue on my phone. During our chat, she told me that Stella Lynn and Liam Shun had gotten married and had invited many of our classmates. Curious, I asked, weren't they broken up before? Then, I heard an absolutely shocking story. During her internship, Stella Lynn worked as a music teacher at a private elite elementary school. She ended up getting involved with a student's father. The student's mother discovered the affair and posted their explicit photos and intimate chat logs online. Since the man was an executive at a listed company, the topic exploded on the hot search list that very night. #exposed. Executive and intern teachers car passion. #, elite school music teachers, affair exposed by wife. #, original wife, leaks executive and interns explicit chats. # shortly after this incident occurred, Stella was drugged while returning home one night and woke up to find her hands covered in blood. Diagnoses revealed that the tendons in both her wrists had been precisely severed. After treatment, she retained basic daily functionality, but could never play instruments like the guzheng or piano again. So, Liam Shun seized the opportunity to step in. I asked Sarah Shue. You guessed right, Liam sought out Stella proactively, promising to take care of her for life. They just had their wedding a few days ago. Quite a grand affair. My partner attended too. I smiled. They truly are a pair of soulmates, destined to be together across 2 lifetimes. After graduating with my master's degree, I joined an international finance company through campus recruitment as a management trainee. The job required frequent travel between Shanghai and Hong Kong. I became even busier, but I still found time to start a relationship. My boyfriend, whom I met during grad school, was an alumni majoring in artificial intelligence. On Valentine's Day, since I was working in Hong Kong, I had a long phone call with my boyfriend after work. By the time we hung up, it was already late at night. Opening WeChat, I saw over 100 unread messages in my university class group chat. Everyone seemed to be discussing Stella Lynn and Liam Shun. Curious, I scrolled up to see what was going on. The earliest message was a forwarded news article. Woman, unable to endure long-term domestic abuse, poisons entire family with tetsuomine. In the news photo, the person wearing a yellow detention vest and bowing her head during an interview was unmistakably Stella Lynn. Stella Lynn recounted that since marriage, she had fallen into an abyss. Not only did she have to care for her disabled husband, but also serve her difficult in-laws. Even while pregnant, her mother-in-law ordered her to do household chores when she merely suggested doing them later. Her mother-in-law shoved her violently. Her abdomen hit the corner of a table, causing her to miscarry. Instead of comforting her, her husband cursed her as useless, blaming her for failing to protect their child. Right after returning home from the DNC procedure, her husband brutally beat her. From then on, as if possessed by a demon, he constantly found ways to torment her, deriving sick pleasure from watching her kneel and beg for mercy in agony. She lived in constant fear and despair. She tried to escape, divorce, and seek help from her parents, but each attempt only brought endless beatings from her in-laws and husband. Finally, she broke down completely. Years of oppression and despair made her completely give up struggling. She bought large quantities of rat poison, repeatedly mixing it into the meals of those 3 people, until her mother-in-law suddenly vomited and fainted, rushed to the hospital in an emergency. Only then was the truth uncovered. Reading this news, I felt neither satisfaction nor pity. Perhaps true letting go is when even their news feels utterly insignificant. In the 18th month of the management trainee program, I finally passed the probation review. The base annual salary on the offer HR handed me made me unconsciously hold my breath. This didn't even include the performance bonus I might receive at year end. Life had truly brightened. I had a healthy body, a satisfying job, and a like-minded partner. In my past life, I was mired in agony, suffering physical torment. But thankfully, I now stand at a brand new crossroads in life. The wind blows from the other shore, carrying both sharpness and freedom. Only occasionally, in the dead of night, I'd feel a hollow ache in my heart, as if a piece were missing, until one late night at work, amidst the distant city lights, a sudden flashback brought to mind the disgusting faces of my father and stepmother. Counting the years, it had been 6 or 7 since we last had any contact. It was about time I showed some concern for their family. So, during my vacation, I took a trip back to my hometown, whether by coincidence or not. The day I returned happened to be my stepsister's engagement day. It was clear the whole family was thrilled with her fiancé. If my father and stepmother had tails, they'd be wagging them up to the sky. The groom was a factory heir, tall, handsome, and wealthy. No wonder my stepsister gazed at him with such love and happiness. My return didn't stir much reaction from my father and stepmother. They remained as cold and indifferent as ever. Their enthusiasm only flared up when boasting about their daughter landing a wealthy catch. During my stay, I gathered detailed information about the factory owned by my stepsister's husband's family. I saw their factory's receptionist job posting on a recruitment website. So, I spent a considerable sum to hire a beautiful amateur actress. I then meticulously designed a script for the actress to follow my plan, apply for the job, and get close to my stepsister's fiancé. If she succeeded in making them break off the engagement, I'd add a 200,000 yuan bonus. Of course, I wouldn't force her to use any illegal methods. If she threw herself at him on her own initiative, that would be her problem. The girls certainly didn't disappoint me. In just 3 months, news came that my stepsister and her fiancé were breaking up. Another 2 months passed. The girls sent me a transfer of 888 yuan, along with 2 marriage certificates. The bride was her, and the groom was unmistakably my stepsister's ex. Fiancé. Before I could process it, her video call popped up. As soon as I answered, her clear, joyful voice rang out. Sis, please accept the red envelope. Jiaming and I are getting married next month. Will you be my bridesmaid? Huh? I was completely stunned. After snapping back to reality, I quickly said, oh, right, I'll add a bonus for you. Same bank card as last time, correct? She cut me off directly. I haven't even properly thanked you for introducing me to Jiaming yet. I don't want the bonus, but I found out yesterday that I'm pregnant. Could you be my child's godmother? This, seeing my hesitation, she offered a condition I couldn't refuse. She hinted meaningfully, in case you need professional actors again soon, I can refer some to you. I thought for a moment, smiled, and asked, do you know any older actors? The kind in their 40s or 50s. I heard her pat her chest over the phone. Absolutely. Send me the wedding venue and time. I'll definitely be there. Speaking of this, some might say my stepsister is innocent, but back when her mother climbed into bed with my father, making my seriously ill mother vomit blood, when she brazenly moved into my bedroom and threw my belongings into the community trash like garbage, when she joined schoolmates in bullying me, giving me the nickname Mole Rat. Nobody cared whether I was innocent or not. If her mother could seduce my father back then, why couldn't someone else steal her man? Look at it from another angle. Am I not helping her weed out the bad apples before marriage? What kind of good match is a man who can be so easily tempted? If she ever sees the light, she'll probably thank me. I'll sincerely tell her. No need to thank me. This is just what an older sister ought to do.